Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon everyone. First of all, thank you to Mr. Daniel as a lecturer in Introduction to Educational Research course, and also to friends who have given us to the opportunity to present our material. Well, before we go into the explanation of material, I will introduce our group, namely Group 4. My name is Suryaningsi as the moderator as well as the first speaker, then Fitriani as the second speaker, and Nurfatima as the last speaker. So, the title of our material is Reporting and Evaluating Research. Alright, let's go straight to the presentation of the material that will be explained by myself. So, in our material, namely Reporting and Evaluating Research, we will discuss about what is a research, how can the audience receive the research results? Then, what are the types of research? Then, how should we prepare the report? And then, how to write scientific research that has ethical sensitive elements? And then, how to evaluate the quality of your research? And the last key ideas in our material. What is a research report? So, a research report is on the implementation of an investigation and exploration of problem, identifying questions to be answered, including data collected and analyzed and interpreted by the researcher. It is structured for different audiences and varies in length and format, and differs for quantitative and qualitative research. Okay, next, how can audience receive research results? The first, research standard with the methods used. The second, easy to understand results. The third, immediately applicable. The fourth, easy to identify. And the last, have a clear systematic. So, in order for groups and individuals to understand and potential benefit from research findings, you must write your research report in a way that is acceptable to your target audience. Then write the research report in a way that is acceptable to the intended audience. Thus the main rule for writing is to write for an audience. So, in summary, researchers need to consider the audience for research and use what general standards available in the literature and standards specific to quantitative and qualitative research. Furthermore, the explanation of the next material will be explained by my colleague, namely Fitriani.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Fitriani, Class B English Education Department. Okay, I will explain about the material. What are the types of research? Dissertation and thesis. Dissertation and thesis are doctoral and master research report that are prepared to be submitted to lecturers and the examining committee. The length of dissertation or thesis varies depending on the tradition of the faculty or postgraduate program in question. The process of preparing a dissertation or thesis includes planning research, writing a proposal, and presenting it to the supervisor and the examining committee. In bahasa, dissertation and thesis adalah lauran penelitian doktor dan master yang dipersiapkan untuk diserahkan kepada dosen dan panitia penguji. Panjangnya disertai atau tesis bervariasi tergantung pada tradisi fakultas program pasca sarjana yang bersangkutan. Proses penyiapan sebuah disertai atau tesis mencakup perencanaan penelitian, misalnya penulis proposal dan penyajikannya kepada dosen pembimbing dan panitia penguji. Next, dissertation and thesis proposal. One of the essential difference between the two is that you prepare your proposal before doing the research. Another difference between a proposal and a research report is in terms of the research report and further research. In your proposal, you certainly do not mention the result and do not mention further research. Thus, the proposal stops at a discussion of research methods and procedure. However, in the research report, you include the result of your research and follow-up research because you have collected and analyzed the data. To write a dissertation or thesis, you must prepare a proposal which is a formal description of the plan, a study, a research problem. The process starts from the topic to be studied so that the reader fully understands the activity. The next step is to organize and format the plan according to whether the research is qualitative research or quantitative research. Oke, in bahasa, salah satu perbedaan yang esensial antara keduanya adalah bahwa Anda menyusun proposal sebelum melakukan penelitian. Pembedaan lain antara proposal dan laporan penelitian ada dalam hal laporan hasil dan penelitian lanjutan. Dalam proposal, Anda tentu tidak menyinggung hasil dan tidak pula menyebut penelitian lanjutan. Dengan demikian, proposal berhenti pada pembicaraan tentang metode dan prosedur penelitian. Walaupun demikian, dan laporan penelitian Anda memasukkan hasil penelitian dan penelitian lanjutan karena Anda telah mengumpulkan dan menganalisis data. Untuk menyusun sebuah disertasi atau tesis, pertama-tama Anda harus menyusun proposal yang merupakan deskripsi dari perencanaan secara formal untuk mengkaji sebuah masalah penelitian. Prosesnya dimulai dari topik yang akan diteliti sehingga para pembacanya memahami secara penuh kegiatan tersebut. Langkah berikutnya adalah mengorganisasikan dan memformat rencana tersebut dengan disesuaikan apakah penelitian tersebut penelitian kualitatif atau penelitian kuantitatif. Next, quantitative and qualitative dissertation and thesis. Quantitative research must disclose sufficient information to convince the readers that the research is useful. The main advantage of an approach like this is to test whether you can collect and analyze data from the participant and then see if or through design of your research can be carried out in the field prior to obtaining permission from the supervisor or examiner team. In bahasa, kuantitatif disertai dan tesis kualitatif dan kuantitatif. Para peneliti kualitatif harus mengungkapkan informasi yang cukup untuk meyakinkan para pembacanya bahwa penelitian tersebut memang memiliki manfaat. Keuntungan utama dari pendekatan seperti ini adalah untuk mengetes apakah Anda dapat mengumpulkan dan menganalisis data dari para partisipan dan kemudian melihat apakah rancangan menyeluruh dari penelitian Anda itu bisa dilakukan di lapangan sebelum mendapatkan izin dari dosen pembimbing atau tim penguji. Next, journal article. A journal article is much shorter than a thesis or dissertation because of fake distraction from the editor or publisher of the journal. The editor arranged for 2 to 3 reviewers to comment on the research. The editor then makes a division based on the reviewers' comments, which usually fall into one of 3 categories: accept, refuse, and resubmit or reject. One of the norms adopted in research is that individuals publish their research reports so that community. A conference paper is a report presented to an audience at the local regional national or even international level, usually sponsored by a professional association, AIRA, American Association of Teacher Educators. In bahasa, sebuah artikel jurnal jauh lebih singkat dari sebuah tesis atau disertasi karena adanya pembatasan halaman dari editor atau penerbit dari jurnal tersebut. Editor mengatur selama 2-3 pengulas untuk memberikan komentar tentang penelitian. Editor kemudian membuat keputusan berdasarkan komentar pengulas yang biasanya jatuh ke dalam salah satu dari 3 kategori. Yang pertama, menerima, merevisi, dan kirimkan kembali atau menolak. Salah satu norma yang dianut dalam penelitian adalah bahwa para individu mempublikasikan laporan penelitian mereka sehingga informasinya dapat diakses oleh komunitas pendidikan. Makalah untuk konferensi adalah laporan yang disajikan di depan suatu audiens pada tingkat daerah, regional, nasional, atau bahkan internasional yang biasanya disponsori oleh asosiasi profesional, misalnya AIRA, American Association of Teacher Education. Okay, next. Paper and proposal for conference. One of the norms adopted in research is that individuals publish their research report so that the information is accessible to the education community. Prepare for conference a report that are presented in front of an audience at the local, regional, or even international level. This helps to build the result of our research report. In bahasa, makalah dan proposal untuk konferensi, salah satu norma yang dianut dalam penelitian adalah bahwa para individu mempublikasikan laporan penelitian mereka sehingga informasinya dapat diakses oleh komunitas pendidikan. Makalah untuk konferensi adalah laporan yang disajikan di depan suatu audiens pada tingkat daerah, regional, nasional, ataupun bahkan internasional. Ini membantu untuk mempublikasikan hasil laporan penelitian kita. Next. Simple guide for proposal. The most common form of presenting the result of a single study is called a paper session. Requires the researcher to submit his/her paper within a certain timeline. The researcher needs to make a summary of this research, which includes objective or goals, perspective, as or theoretical framework, method, technique, or mode of inquiry, search of data or evidence, research and or conclusion, point of view, importance of educational or scientific research, era 1990-30. In bahasa, pedoman sampel untuk proposal. Bentuk yang paling umum dalam penyajian hasil penelitian tunggal disebut sesi makalah, mengharuskan si peneliti mengirimkan makalahnya atas dasar batas waktu tertentu. Si peneliti perlu membuat keringkasan penelitiannya yang antara lain mencakup yang pertama objektif atau tujuan, perspektif atau kerangka teoritis, metode, teknik atau mode penyelidikan, sumber data atau bukti, hasil dan atau kesimpulan sudut pandang, pentingnya pendidikan atau ilmiah penelitian, AIRA 1959 halaman 33. Okay, next. Report to first school policymakers or practitioners. The last type of research report is a report aimed at practitioners, people who bear responsibility in the field of education. These individuals may be policy makers at the regional and national levels, or school officials such as supervisors, principals, heads of curriculum division, and teachers. In bahasa, report for school, policy makers or practitioners. Tab terakhir dari laporan penelitian adalah laporan yang ditujukan pada praktisi, yakni orang-orang yang memikul tanggung jawab dalam bidang pendidikan. Individu-individu ini boleh jadi pembuat kebijakan di tingkat daerah dan nasional atau para pejabat persekolahan, seperti pengawas, kepala sekolah, kepala bahagia kurikulum, dan para guru. Next, how shall you complete your report? A study with a clear structure will be easy to understand and easy to read, even though the subject matter may be complex. A look at the practical structure of research report, being able to identify the underlying structure of research report will help you read your research and understand it. This is always easy, but here are 4 techniques that can help. The easiest approach is to examine the different levels of detail used in the research. Look for the 6 steps in the research process. All reports, whether quantitative or qualitative, must contain the research problem, literature statement of objectives and question or hypothesis, data collection, data analysis and interpretation, and reporting format. In bahasa, sebuah studi dengan struktur yang jelas akan mudah dipahami dan mudah dibaca. Meskipun subjek mungkin kompleks, lihatlah struktur fisik laporan penelitian. Mampu mengidentifikasikan struktur yang mendasari laporan penelitian akan membantu Anda penelitian serta memahaminya. Hal ini tidak terlalu mudah, tapi berikut 4 teknik yang dapat membantu. Pendekatan termudah adalah dengan memeriksa berbagai tingkat judul yang digunakan dalam penelitian. Carilah 6 langkah dalam proses penelitian. Semua laporan baik kuantitatif atau kualitatif harus berisi masalah penelitian pustaka, penyertaan tujuan dan pertanyaan atau hipotesis, pengumpulan data, analisis dan interpretasi data, dan format pelaporan. Next, determining the right design in research or structure quantitative. The site and quantitative research report structure right. Knowing this structure will help you read research report and understand where some information can be found. Qualitative structure, some form of qualitative reporting will emphasize description, while others will focus on the themes or personal interpretation of the finding by the authors. In a scientific qualitative structure, the research includes detailed procedure for investigation and follows the traditional form of reporting research, which includes introduction, procedure, findings, and discussion. However, a qualitative report is now different from a standard quantitative format. In a scientific qualitative approach, you look at procedure instead of method, and finding instead of result. In bahasa, determine the right design in research or the structure quantitative. Rancanglah struktur laporan penelitian kuantitatif yang tepat. Mengetahui struktur ini akan membantu Anda membaca laporan penelitian dan memahami di mana sesuatu informasi dapat diperoleh struktur kualitatif. Beberapa untuk laporan kualitatif akan menekan deskripsi, sedangkan yang lain akan fokus pada tema atau interpretasi pribadi hasil temuan oleh penulis. Dalam struktur kualitatif ilmiah, peneliti mencakup pada prosedur rinci penyelidikan dan mengikuti bentuk tradisional untuk melaporkan penelitian, yang mencakup pengenalan prosedur temuan dan diskusi. Namun laporan kualitatif ilmiah tidak berbeda dari format kuantitatif standar dalam pendekatan, dan format kuantitatif standar dalam ilmiah adalah Anda melihat prosedur, bukannya metode, dan temuannya, bukannya hasil. Okay, thanks, that's all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thanks to Fitriani. Furthermore, the explanation of the next material will be explained by my colleague, namely Nur Fatimah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Nur Fatimah from Group 4. Well, I will continue the next material, namely about how to write scientific research that has ethical and sensitive element, and how to evaluate the quality of your research. Okay, next, how to write scientific research that has ethical and sensitive element, divided into 7 parts. Normally, 1. Use language that reduces bias. 2. Use a private tense. 3. Writing and reporting thesis finding. 4. Use point of view. 5. Balance research and substance. And 6. Links between parts of a study. And 7. Short little. Part 1. Use language that reduce bias. So, use a language that reduce a bias of a researcher for to be sensitive and respect people and bias. Part 2. Use appropriate terms. When writing research report, according your writing with the language of research. In this case, coding in intentional uses by the author of the specific terms to convey ID. Next, part 3. Writing and reporting disease finding. Use ethical reporting and writing research. The result, the main idea of ethical research is that research must be carried out in a way that respects to wrong, right, or behavior. Ethical reporting and writing research is research that needs to be honestly reported. Purposely not published, not striking, is not used by personal interest, and its sole appreciates the other who contribution. Part 4. Point of view. Use the point according to the view the presence of research in this study varies between quantitative and qualitative research. Part 5. Balance research and substance. Consider between research and substance. A research report is good showing a balance between details about research and the material or research substance. Part 6. Links between part of a study participation, part of the other writing provision used in the study, or to the connects part of your research so that your report provides a consistent discussion for the reader. One way to build this interaction is to use K-concave as connection device. Next, part 7. Short Little. The purpose of the little is to summarize the main and clear research ID. The little must be not more than 12 words and must avoid excessive words such as research or investigation. It shall be able to stand alone its clarity and quite clear. Next, how to evaluate the quality of your research. First, A. Application of the right standard because of the approach to quantitative and qualitative research differently. Each of them have the benefit and criteria itself to evaluate. The respondent for the study will use criteria such as: does the research meet the standard for publications? Does research useful in our school? Will the research policy discussion of research in our religions? Does research add to our scientific knowledge of our topic or problem topic? Quantitative standard. Quantitative standard of attention are widely fixed on aspects related to data collection, analysis, and reporting stages of research design. The following is quantitative criteria for evaluation quantitative research. What needs to be considered is problem research, literature review, hypothesis and variable design, finding and discussion. Quantitative standard. Switch to quantitative research criteria for research report that are good at different from your emphasis as research. When we examine this perspective, assessing qualitative research ID in each of the three themes: philosophy, procedure, and participant join in forming evaluation criteria. Next, the evaluation process with the approach. Step in this process is presented to illustrate the complete and quantitative and qualitative results, because evaluation will differ depending on whether this result is quantitative or qualitative. Clearly profit specific criteria related to six steps of research. Some list for evaluating the quantitative study process, namely title for study, problem statement, literature review, data selection, data analysis and result, and writing. Multiple list for evaluation process qualitative study, namely title for study, problem statement, literature review, objective and research questions, data sets, data analysis and finding, and writing. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thanks to Nur Fatima. Alright, so the presentation of the material regarding our research reports and evaluations. As for the key idea of our material is the purpose and type of the research report. So, a report is a complete research report, which is a report on an investigation or exploration of the problem. Describes the identification of questions to be addressed, including data collection and analysis, and the progress of data interpretation. How to structure your research report? So, a good structure facilitates reading, understanding, and writing a study. The structure of the research can be determined by examining the title and by looking for the steps of the research process. The third, criteria for evaluating research reports. So the criteria for evaluating research quality differ depending on the evaluator. Evaluators may be faculty, journal editors, and reviewers, policymakers and practicing educators, and conference paper reviewers. Evaluators look for the distinct characteristic of good quantitative or qualitative research. Thank you to lecturers and friends who have watched our video. Lesson more, please forgive. Hopefully what we have described can be understood and become knowledge for friends. And the end, wallahu muwaffiq ila aqwamit thoriq. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.